Working on this little monstrosity today. It's one of those little 125 Honda clone Chinese ATVs. I had a wiring harness problem. Didn't have an exhaust on it. Needed chain. And switch housing for the starter didn't work. Got that all figured out as far as the starter goes after buying 3 different switches for it, because none of the wire colors matched up on these things. They never do. So you buy one switch and it won't even plug in. The other one will plug in, but nothing. The power doesn't go to where it's supposed to go. There's no commonization on these things, so you can buy one from one manufacturer, and they all look identical. Same frame, same motor, all that. But the wiring harnesses are all different colors as far as where they go and where they're routed. Got that pretty much figured out. Charging the battery now. Carburetor was messed up, of course, and got to do the brakes on it. But somewhere probably about 10 years ago, maybe more or so, they started making these carburetors tamper-proof. So what they do is they put these tamper-proof screws down in the bowl here so you can't actually get the bowl off. Now all we're going to do is drill those out and put regular screws back in there, and we'll go through cleaning the jets and all that, setting the float height. And the other thing you're going to want to do is, because they've been blocking these off for years, is where the air fuel screw goes in there. If you look there, it's got a little cap over top of it, a little aluminum cap. We're going to pull that out so you can access the air fuel screw. And with this cap here, it's just aluminum. It's easy to drill through. You want to be careful drilling through there so you're not really breaming on it. Once you get about halfway through it, it's not even like 3/16 of an inch thick. So you're just going to drill, and once it's almost through, you can stick a screw in there, just like a wood screw, something kind of coarse, and use a pair of pliers to pop it out with so you can access the air fuel screw. If you go in there whole hog, it'll break through, and then it'll eat the top of the screw off. The screw is just brass, excuse me, it's just a brass screw. It'll drill really easy, so you'll end up having a screw in there that you can't actually turn because you drilled through the screwdriver slot on it. Then you'll have to use an easy out to get it out. So let me drill these tamper-proof screws out. Like I said, they're right here and right there. I guess the EPA decided that these things have to be tamper-proof, so nobody can get in there and actually change anything, because, you know, I don't know why. They come up with this stuff and end up screwing up more stuff than it's worth. I don't know if you guys remember, about maybe 14, 15 years ago, they quit selling these little bikes because they have lead in them, or lead content somewhere on the bike, and they do. You know, it's got a lead acid battery. They're using lead core solder and something about lead paint on the engine cases, which, you know, may or may not have, but it was stupid because, you know, if you're taking your 5-year-old and sticking him with one of these things, hopefully you've taught him not to go around licking everything he finds. If he's 5 years old and still licking stuff, you need to do some remedial training there. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let me get these screws out of here. Plan B on the drilling. Can't drill through them screws where the break off is. Can't get the drill centered. So plan B, we're going to slot the screws from the top and then take them out with a screwdriver. I'm just going to use a small Dremel cut-off tool right there. And be very careful. You're just going to slot the center of the screw. It took some doing, but I finally got the screws out. Had to slot the heads and didn't really get them all the way out that way, so ended up drilling them. Bung the carb up a little bit, but it'll survive. Next, you're going to check your float. If it should spring back like that little bit right there. You should feel it spring back. I'm not sure what the float adjustment's supposed to be on this thing, but it should be fine. It wasn't dumping gas out before. You probably want to pull the float pin out. Just check the needle, check the tip of it. Make sure you don't have any debris down in the carb. A lot of times people use gas out of gas cans in these things, and they'll be packed full of sand, and it'll sit there and continually dribble. That's just sand sitting on the tip of the spring there. Next, we're going to pull out the main jet and the intermediate and blow through it. Main jet's probably fine. I can tell you right now that the intermediate's clogged. It's still got fuel sitting on top of it. Just barely. You can barely see it. I can see it. You guys probably can't. So let me pull these jets out of here, blow some carb cleaner through them, and if I got to run a piece of wire or a needle through there, I will. Okay, just go over this again. The one over here to the back side, the long skinny one, that right there is your intermediate jet. That's the one that usually gets clogged. It's smaller hole in the center. This one here is your main jet. They will get clogged, but not as often. A lot of it depends on how long that gas has been sitting in there. This one ran last year, so it shouldn't be too bad. But gas smelled kind of horrible in this thing, so we're just cleaning it out anyway before I put the carb back on. Now I'm just using this here carb and choke cleaner. You're going to want to wear glasses with this thing. And all you're going to do is blow through enough that you need it. Probably that much, and then take one strand, pull one strand of that off of there, just like that, and that's what you're going to clean the jet with. And we're just going to run it through there, run it through the center. Try that. Okay. So we've ran our wire through there. And this is what you should get out of the intermediate here. If you can see it, we'll find out. Just going to line that up, blow through the center there, and if you can see it, you got a nice stream coming through. That's what you want. Main jet, same thing. Nice steady stream going through there. And we can put both of those back in there. Now, you kind of need to be careful when you're taking these out. If they don't go at first, it's kind of easy to mess the heads up on them. What you can do is take a good pair of pliers and just wrap it around there, give it a little turn. See if that comes loose. A lot of times I'll take them and take a screwdriver with a hammer and just tap the heads of it, see if they'll break loose. And you don't need to rafe on these things really hard to put them in either. You'll feel them seat. And then just give it a little turn there. And that's good enough. Same with the main. Let's give it a little dust off with some carb cleaner. Since this one run really horrible bad, I'm not going to worry about soaking it. If you need to soak it, You can get a carb cleaner bucket from Napa or Advanced Auto or whoever. Those things will last. I've got one I've had for about 2 years, but this thing doesn't need cleaning that bad. You want to blow through all the orifices. If it is bad, soak it and then blow through everything. Make sure you're getting air through there. All right, next up, I need to drill out this plug right here. It's just a plug. If you want to, you can hit it. If you can't drill it straight, just take a center punch and put a little divot right there in the center of it, as best you can see. I'm going to do that with my center punch here, if I can find it. Yep, there's the center punch. Just stick it in the center there as best you can get it. I'm going to go about right there. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. I mean, you want it as close to the center as you can get it. Give it a little divot there, and that's it. And you probably need to use like probably 1/8" drill bit would be good. Cutting out. You want to stop and check it. See if you got breakthrough yet or about ready to break through. It's not breaking through yet, so a little bit more. Yeah, almost. All right, got us a little screw here. Doesn't need to be huge, doesn't need to be in any certain kind of shape. Just all you're using it for is to grab a hold of this thing. Just a regular wood screw. Just screw it in there to get it started. Give it a little turn here. All right, that should be good. And that's it. You just wiggle it back and forth to pop it out of there. And if you look down in there, there's your screw head right there. Now, to start off with, since this one isn't that bad, I'm not going to take it out. But usually what you want to do is take it out and blow some carb cleaner through the passages there. And we're just going to take a little screwdriver, if I can find one, small enough to go in there. That's perfect. And then where it's at right there, you're just going to turn it in, count your turns. That's a half a turn. It's 3/4 of a turn, just lightly seated. And when you turn it, you'll feel it stop. You don't need to reform it from there, just until it stops. That's your starting point. Then most of these you're going to go 1.5 turns. So half, 1, and a half. That's perfect right there. And you don't need to worry about putting a plug back in there. They put them plugs in there so you won't mess with them. The really newer ones, they don't even have screws in there. It's a fixed jet. So you're pretty much screwed if you need to jet the thing. That's it. And then once it's running, you're going to do an idle drop. You're going to start it up, let it get good and warm. Then you're going to turn it in. And I'll show you this later on. You're going to turn it in after it's good and warm until it starts running bad. You're going to mark that in your mind. Say you had to go in half a turn. So you know you're at that point you're one turn out. Then you're going to go back to where you were until it's running there, and then you're going to turn it out until it starts running bad. And your best place is going to be in between those 2 points. So say it was, you went in one turn and it was running bad. You went back out 1.5, then it ran good, and then you won another quarter turn. So that's 1 3/4. So your best place is going to be about 1 1/4 out. And that's it. And I need to go get some screws to replace the ones that I've drilled out of this thing. And I probably need some gas too. And I need some spark plugs for another bike. And when you're doing this, start off with a new spark plug. This thing still had whatever Chinese spark plug that came in it. Looked like it ain't never been replaced. And they were riding this thing with no exhaust system on there at all. So I just put an exhaust because evidently you couldn't find one from nowhere. Nobody had them, whatever. I found a new one that a guy had down the road there that was for a dirt bike. But supposedly dirt bike ones wouldn't fit on a little ATV. They fit perfect. All right, let me go get some screws and some gas for this thing. We'll try and get it going today. Then we'll go mess with that intruder some later on. Charging the battery on that thing now. All right, let's go to town. Okay, that's our carburetor all done back together. Still messing around with some wiring on this thing, trying to fix the headlights and tail lights on it. Pretty much could have just replaced the wiring harness on. I had to split it all the way from the front to the back. One of the solder joints for the power wire off the battery where it runs up through the harness was corroded pretty bad. Wasn't getting any power up to the ignition switch. And then the on-off switch and starter button weren't working at all. So I just bypassed that and used a regular push button switch, wired it on the side. I'm not ordering any more switch housings for this thing, since none of them are, it's supposed to be a 7-wire switch, 7-wire male switch. Order 3 different ones, and the wiring color are different on all 3 of them where they hook up at. And none of them did nothing even after fixing the switch on it. So one thing at a time. And still got to mess with that intruder over there. Harley's done. Still trying to find rod bolts for the Farmall Super A tractor. Can't believe they're $81 a piece. That's just for the bolts. That don't include the nuts. So we'll find something to put in there that'll work. All right, that's about it for today. If you like my content, please like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Appreciate it. Hit that notification bell. Always doing stuff around here. Don't know what I'll be doing next. After I get this done, probably working on some of my own stuff. All right, thank you. Take care.